The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Remember, in a fourth turning, there are people that you've never heard of before that now become leaders. Like, let's take one like the Civil War. People like Ulysses Grant, people like a railroad lawyer, Abraham Lincoln, people like General Sherman, an Army colonel out fighting Comanches as executive officer at first, and then leader of the the 2nd Cavalry out in San Antonio, Robert E. Lee. They all became major players in the turning. In that turning, you're seeing those people come today, people you never heard of, that step up in the moment, in the defining moment, in the minute that matters. They step up, and when they act, you see inflection points. One of those inflection points, when the history of this is written, is Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, where so much of American history has been written, and so much important history. That hearing on Wednesday was an inflection point because it's the first time that the Trump campaign was actually able to put forward in front of smart people and for a national TV audience the receipts, the actual details of how this was stolen, to counter the mantra of the mainstream media that is baseless.
You mean the guys who were saying, where's your evidence? Where's your evidence? No, we don't want to hear your evidence.
Right. Just in relentless. And the person who did that at tremendous political risk to himself was State Senator Colonel Mastriano. He now joins us. So, Colonel, tell us what's transpired since then, and how one of the things people are asking me nonstop, my phone's blown up all over since Wednesday, is when, because the House passed it in Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, when are we going to actually have something that takes place in Harrisburg with the legislature? And hey, let these guys who came forward with these receipts be crossed. Let them be crossed by Democrats, but let's get the evidence out there. Is that going to happen, sir?
If I have anything to say about it, yeah, absolutely. So who would have known Wednesday would have been so huge? All it was a hearing to lay the facts out there, let the witnesses come forth. And Steve, as you said before, the media should have done this. They should have found these witnesses if they cared about truth. It's funny, they only have intellectual curiosity when it advances their political agenda. That's not journalism there. That's political hacks right there. And so we laid it out there, and wow, what a compelling case was made. And the people of the nation were just, I think, a bit shocked and taken back that there was that much real evidence and so many witnesses willing to step forward. And that was only the tip of the iceberg. There's many, many others that have come forward and sworn affidavits. So what's next? So obviously a joint resolution saying that we are going to probably grab back our constitutional authority in Pennsylvania. And okay, let me lay this out here. So Pennsylvania, 1938, the General Assembly in 1938 decided to hand over picking the delegates to basically the Secretary of State. So whoever that wins the popular vote in the state, assuming the election's fair, that the delegates would naturally go to that person, which makes sense if the election's fair. But if it's not fair, well, I actually hand that power of selecting delegates to the same person who cheated, the same party that cheated. Absolutely not. And so thank God we have the federal constitution that says we're going to exercise our constitutional power here. So we're going to do a resolution between the House and Senate, hopefully today. I spent 2 hours online trying to coordinate this with my colleagues, and there's a lot of good people working this here. And the resolution is going to say we're going to take our power back. We're going to seat the electors. Now, obviously, we're going to need the support of the leadership in the House and Senate. We're getting there on that, but we need to act like.
Hold it. I think we got some breaking news here. You're saying you're going to get a joint resolution to actually go forward, and the Republicans control the House and the Senate, to go forward to basically take the power back from the Secretary of State and put it in the state legislature to put forward the electors?
That is exactly what we're going to do. And so, look, it's going to obviously be a struggle. We're going to hear the palpitations and the outcries of our Governor Wolf and Secretary Bookvar, whose resignation should have happened months ago, and she should have never been confirmed. But you know what? We have that power, and we're going to take that power back because there's so much evidence of shenanigans and fraud. We can't stand aside and just watch this unfold around us here. It's not about disenfranchising anybody. It's making sure that every legal vote counted. And if there is extensive shenanigans out there, it's up to the General Assembly to step in. So we have a fight on our hands, and we're going to fight. We're going to take the fight all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court if we have to.
Look, we saw fighters in you, and we saw fighters, and this is fighting for the Constitution, fighting the Republic, fighting for the American people. But we saw fighters. The question is, and we know that courage is contagious, but has that courage gotten contagious upstairs? Is leadership now prepared to take? You got guys like Toomey, you've got leaders in the Senate, in the House, and all they seem to me to want to do is run for cover.
Yeah, I mean, I was a bit dismayed reading, former Governor Tom Ridge's comments there. I mean, it's just he mocked our hearings in Gettysburg. If he was a student of history or cared for the truth, he should have sat and just watched it and made a judgment without just castigating us because we're doing the right thing, unlike him, obviously. But yes, I am seeing a shift. Now there's 4 leaders, 2 in the House, 2 in the Senate, and I'm seeing a shift among a couple of them. So I think the momentum's on our side. Look, if there's 50 voices in the Senate, 29 Republican or independent caucuses with us. All we need, are 16 in the Senate really to influence the leadership. And I think we're pretty darn close to having 16, 17 senators, and I think there's at least half of the House as well on the Republican side moving forward. So yes, they are getting motivated, and sometimes it feels like we're pushing from behind. But doing the right thing, I think eventually catches on.
Since we are burning daylight, do you see in your resolution other things you're working on today and over the weekend? The president's going to Georgia tomorrow. Wisconsin's probably going to report at this weekend, which is going to be a thermonuclear airburst, right? Given the 100 to 200,000 votes that are illegal out there and going to be purported to be illegal. Do you see hearings actually happening with everything you're working on? Do you actually see hearings? And hey, let the Democrats take their shot. That's the American system. It's an advocacy system. We don't mind. The evidence is the evidence. The math in Pennsylvania is so overwhelming that. But do you actually see a set of hearings happening with the state legislature that's more than just Republicans? That's both houses and both parties.
Yeah, I do. But, sadly, and this is, I'm a very impatient guy. And obviously growing up in an organization that's results oriented in the Army, either deliver results or get out of the way. So this is more deliberative. So this is going to happen in a week or two. We just don't have time. So that's why we're pushing forward this joint resolution to take our power back. And the statements that are going to be in there, basically, we're going to take responsibility of the electors. We're going to, of course, void the certification because we can't certify an election result that appears to be corrupted. And why can't that wait till after the Supreme Court makes a judgment on the case that the Trump administration makes, and that we need to move forward as a co-equal branch of this government? So there's some strange things, Steve, that the Constitution in Pennsylvania has. So normally we turn into a lame duck, on Tuesday. So effectively Monday is our last day. We're going to have to step back in here and say, no, we're going to seat the new House members and senators and reinstate those reelected like myself. And we're going to work through December. I mean, it's like ridiculous stuff here. You never think that a General Assembly would put themselves out of business for an entire month. So there's a lot of things as this resolution have to deal with internally to Pennsylvania, but also externally with this election.
Let me ask you: this resolution can it just be empowered by the House and the Senate? Would the governor have to sign something? Would it have to be statutory, or can a resolution actually take it back? Given the 1938. Could you do it by resolution that the governor didn't have to sign, or does the governor have to sign it and then you have to overcome that like a veto? What's the mechanics of actually making this actually happen besides going to court?
Yeah, so for a Senate bill and a House bill, it does have to go to the governor. So that's why this is going to be a resolution. It does not require a signature. And so we do have the authority to suspend law in the General Assembly. Now, it's something that you'd only do in extreme. I don't know any case we've done that, but in our state constitution, we can suspend aspects of the law in an extreme case. So we have the power to do that. Steve, the whole thing is, why don't we start acting like co-equals? Because this whole time, we dither, we talk, we deliberate. Let's assert ourselves. At no point in the past 8 months during this COVID crisis, when Governor Wolf has come down with his heavy hand here of edicts and proclamations, almost like a king, I had not seen us step out boldly. Now we're finally seeing action here, but what a terrible time to find ourselves and to finally be compelled into action. But this whole experience the past 8 months have prepared us for this moment, because now we know how to circumvent the governor and how to override his failed Secretary of State.
How can people, particularly people that watch this show and listen to the podcast, by the way, over 21 million downloads now, one of the top podcasts in the nation and the world. And that's besides all the distribution on cable TV and satellite and with Real America's Voice streaming. I want to thank everybody, all our distribution partners on national radio with John Frederick. I want to thank all of our distribution partners for that. But how can the people that watch and listen to the show, particularly those people in Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. This is an action-oriented show. And you were a Army intelligence officer. You know what actionable intel is, actionable information. What should our audience do? What actions do they need to take to support the Constitution, to support our republic, and to support a legal and fair, certifiable count in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania?
Please reach out immediately to your representative in the state house and your state senator and tell them they need to get on board with this joint resolution here to stop the certification of apparently a corrupted election. We've seen lots of evidence, and so we can't certify this here unless it's actually a reliable election, and also get on board because we want to appoint our delegates. It's our job. We need to take that power back. So get on your rep and your senator to do their job.
Colonel, how can people follow you on Twitter, Facebook, any social media out there for State Senator Mastriano?
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Twitter, for suspending my private account. You drew attention, and I went from 5,000 on Twitter to 112,000. So thank you, Twitter, for attacking my free speech, and I defended it for 30 years of my life. And see Senator Doug Mastriano on Twitter, so at Senator Mastriano, and on Facebook, which is my largest platform, it's Senator Doug Mastriano. And so we got to stick together. You know, I'm in Franklin County here in Pennsylvania, and Benjamin Franklin famously said in 1776, you know, we either hang together or surely we'll hang separately. We got to hang together here. It's still going to be a marathon, but we're getting close to the end here. And it's been a discouraging 2-3 weeks here, but we're close to victory here. We do have momentum, and we have to stick together. Steve, one thing that really bothers me is we have a group of puritanical Republicans out there that criticize these fine points of things. It's like either get on board and help us or get out of the way, because there's too much at stake here for petty little politics.
Colonel, thank you very much for joining us here in the War Room. People will take action today. Franklin also said a republic, if you can keep it. Raheem Kassam, this is, and momentum is shifting, ladies and gentlemen, ever since the Colonel had that hearing in Gettysburg. And Tom Ridge and these guys, first off, nobody cares what they say anyway. They're totally irrelevant. They have been irrelevant ever since they got us into the wars that bled out America, and Tom Ridge was part of this, part of that corrupt administration, incompetent and corrupt. Tom Ridge's IQ is about room temp. Everybody that knows him knows that. This guy is dumb as a brick. So, Tom Ridge, we don't care what you have to say, okay? You are irrelevant. The only time you get promoted is on CNN and MSNBC when you're attacking the President of the United States and the deplorables. Raheem Kassam.
Yeah, and I just want to echo the comments there from State Senator as well. I mean, this is about speed now. There are hard deadlines coming up, and sure, we'll be able to, there are other remedies after those deadlines, but you really want to hit those deadlines for everything that you need to. There were things in the first week that happened, which I'm sure, will be discussed out in the long haul after this when the books are written and the history is told, where we could have been a week, 10 days ahead, if not months, if things had been happening in the background. But he's right. Right now, for the people who are bemoaning the fact that there are challenges, get on board or get out the way.
No, it's incredible. What are you covering on National Pulse? We're going to have Jeff Rainforth. Normally, he's been in Seattle and Portland reporting for us. He's going to be here with the Populous Press. What's on the show today?
There's stuff, but I want to say there's something in the live chat that people are talking about, and I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it.
Hang on, we'll talk about it on the other end of the 925th anniversary of of Urban II's call for the First Crusade. We're going to be back in just a second.